The first expansion for the 2024 D&D rules is here, Heroes of the Forgotten Realms, and it's a major milestone for the new era of 5th edition.
In addition to introducing a slew of new spells, origin feats, general feats, epic boons, circle casting rules, there are 8 brand new subclasses, which really puts the new design philosophy of the new version of the rules to the test, showcasing some fresh mechanics, some reimagined favorites, and a few cool surprises.
But not every feature lands. Some of these subclasses are incredible upgrades or incredible new ideas that we get to see, and others still struggle to find their place within the new edition.
So today, we're going to be ranking the first 4 presented in the book. This is going to include the College of the Moon Bard, the Knowledge Domain Cleric, the Banneret Fighter, and the Oath of Noble Genies Paladin. 2 of these, the Bard and the Paladin, are brand new subclasses, whereas the Knowledge Domain and the Banneret are reimaginings of subclasses that existed in 2014. And we're going to break down how they play now and showcase their new rules and mechanics in action.
Some of these subclasses did surprise us, and a few did let us down, and at least one might be an instant classic, so let's get rolling.
So before we jump into ranking the subclasses, you'll want to make sure that you've got the right dice to play them. Enter the sponsor for this week's episode, Guild Damage Dice. These are a super slick upgrade for your dice collection if you want to have the dice that match your class and subclass to roll as well as they play at the table.
Guild sets are color-coded and class-themed, so they stand out and you always know what's what. Their Bardic Inspiration set, hand a distinctive die to your ally.
There's a really cool bless set for paladins and clerics so that when you're handing out your buffs, you get actually they look like D12s, but they're actually D4s to hand out. So you have a unique bless die to give to your allies, and they will never forget that you've blessed or guidance them. And you get a handy bag to store them in. So if you're a total dice goblin like me and Kelly and have a million sets of dice, you get a separate bag to store like your class-specific dice in.
Head to the description below and click on the link so that you can get a set of these dice today, and use the discount code DungeonDudes for 10% off your entire order.
A big thank you to Guild Damage Dice for giving us such useful tools to roll with at the table and for sponsoring this episode. But with that, let's get on to the rankings. So we've been tier ranking subclasses for a long time, and we've had a lot of feedback over the years about how we do these rankings. So we've looked back at how we do our rankings in the past, and we've kind of come up with a way to really explain the metrics that we use when we rank the subclasses. And looking back over all the rankings that we've done before, there's 4 things that Kelly and I really talk about a lot: impact, frequency, value, and synergy.
So breaking that down, impact measures how much a feature actually changes the game when it comes up. Those moments that define a character or swing a fight in your direction or make everyone at the table high five and cheer when you get to pull it off.
Now, those features are powerful, but features is also about how often you get to use these cool things across all pillars of play, whether that's combat, which a lot of subclasses boost, or exploration and social interaction. Some of these features are really flashy and powerful, but they're rare in how often they come up because it's either a niche situation or you don't get to use it as much because there's limitations placed on how often it affects things. But some features are useful. You're going to use them every session. Some you might use every single encounter, or some are going to impact every single turn that your character takes.
Now, value is what you get for what you spend. Some features are going to cost your actions or your spell slots or other class resources. High-value subclasses give you big returns for minimal cost. And that includes how much investment or build support they need to really shine as well.
And finally, we look at synergy, which is how well everything plays together, how well the subclass reinforces what the base class already does well and interacts with its core features or its spells or the feats that you might be taking. And then this also might look at how it opens up a new option that changes that playstyle that the class offers in a really unique and powerful way. It's also where we consider the multi-classing potential that the class offers.
When a subclass scores very high across all 4 of these categories, major impact, constant frequency, great value, and exceptional synergy, that's when it's going to be an S tier. These are going to be the subclasses that dominate the game. Every feature clicks, these subclasses are powerful in any campaign, and their features are readily useful all the time.
A-tier subclasses hit high marks in most areas, and there's nothing that's lacking. So while they don't kind of hit the high highs of the S tier, they're still consistent across the board. And for us, this is the sweet spot of balance. They're strong, versatile, and rewarding to play without feeling like they're overpowered.
B-tier subclasses usually have one or two standout strengths in some of these categories. They might have high value and frequency, but low impact and synergy, or whatever. But they probably have a few average or low areas. Still, these are going to be great subclasses, totally playable and often fantastic if you're in the right party or campaign where those features that are your strengths are coming up more often.
C-tier subclasses are where you start to feel something is lacking. Not only are we not seeing like a high rating, or maybe there's only one of these 4 metrics where it's got a high rating and everything else is feeling really low or lacking in some way, shape, or form. The payoff just might not be worth the effort of everything. Like maybe you've got this really high impact feature, but it's happening once per adventure and it costs so much, or it just doesn't synergize with the rest of the class.
And of course, when we look at D tier, these are the ones that rank pretty low in every category. Nothing's really lining up. We have low impact abilities that rarely matter, poor value, weak synergy. They can still bring flavor or story appeal, but in practice, they're going to struggle to keep up.
Again, we rank subclasses against other subclasses, so it is class-specific rankings. So with that in mind, let's see how these new subclasses stack up.
So let's start with the College of the Moon Bard. This is a Bard subclass that is going to blend sort of the Fey magic and druidic tradition, channeling lunar power to inspire allies and weave primal spells.
So right off the bat, at level 3, you gain Moon's Inspiration, which has 2 new abilities that modify Bardic Inspiration. First, Inspired Eclipse triggers whenever you take the bonus action to give a creature Bardic Inspiration. When you give someone Bardic Inspiration, basically, you get to become invisible and teleport 30 feet. The invisibility lasts until the start of your next turn, but it does end early if you attack, deal damage, or cast a spell.
The second part, Lunar Vitality, triggers once per turn when you restore hit points to a creature with a spell. You can expend 1 Bardic Inspiration die and add that roll to the amount of healing you're doing. That creature's speed also increases by 10 feet until the end of its next turn.
You also gain Primal Lore at level 3. This teaches you Druidic. It gives you 1 Druid cantrip, which is pretty slick, a great way to grab guidance. And you also get proficiency in one of the following skills, either Animal Handling, Insight, Medicine, Nature, Perception, or Survival.
At level 6, you gain Blessings of Moonlight, which allows you to always have Moonbeam prepared. And when you cast Moonbeam, you can choose to glow faintly while it's active. When you do, each time a creature fails its saving throw against Moonbeam, you choose another creature within 60 feet, which regains 2d4 hit points. Note that there is no limit on the amount of creatures that can fail their save and how many hit points you can pool up, so if you can hit multiple creatures, you can build up a pretty good healing pool. You can modify Moonbeam this way only once per long rest.
At level 14, Eventide Splendor enhances Moon's Inspiration. Shadow the New Moon lets both you and the creature who receives your inspiration become invisible and teleport up to 30 feet as part of that bonus action. Importantly, though, the creature's invisibility only lasts until the start of its next turn, so it's not going to be able to be invisible on its next turn. Vibrance of the Full Moon allows you, though, however, to roll a d6 instead of expending a Bardic Inspiration when you do use your Lunar Vitality.
All right, so now that we've broken down all of these abilities, let's talk about how it measures up. I do think that right off the bat, we start with actually a pretty cool feature that has great synergy. The ability to teleport and turn invisible when you give out Bardic Inspiration is really awesome because as a bard, we already want to be giving out Bardic Inspiration. It's what we do. So the fact that we are just adding this sort of utility, get out of a bad situation or reposition yourself to a better spot, that's really useful. And I think at higher levels, we'll be able to do a friend as well. And so I think that this adds some survivability and setup for the next turn, and it makes you feel like a bit of a trickster using the moonlight to transition through space and time.
There are some trade-offs here. The big one here is bonus action economy. When I play a bard, traditionally, I like to hand out inspiration before combat. I give all of my party members a Bardic Inspiration die because Bardic Inspiration lasts an hour. So they've got it there just sitting there waiting for them to use it when they need it. However, with this feature to trigger Inspired Eclipse, you want to be handing out your Bardic Inspiration every turn. And so that means that you're going to be using your bonus action, thus leaving it occupied if you are dual wielding for offhand attacks, casting Healing Word, or if you've got other bonus action plays that you want to take with your Bard. Once Font of Inspiration comes online and you're refreshing your Bardic Inspiration die on short rest, the frequency is not a problem here because you're going to get this back on a short rest, meaning you're going to have a wide pool of these to use for your character in most combat encounters. The other thing that kind of sucks, because when we first read this, we thought that the level 14 feature meant that your ally was invisible on
until
their turn.
the end of their turn.
Yes, and it's the start of their turn.
If it was the end of the turn, they would have had advantage on all of their attacks and everything.
Yeah, so if you missed that, we did on our first reading, and it really does change the value of that. It very much makes this a combat repositioning trick and defensive feature. It's defensive utility. It's hard to use it offensively.
I don't play the same as Monty. If you like, I forget to use my abilities all the time. I do remember Bardic Inspiration, but I almost always do it in combat because I cannot be bothered to remember before combat. I'm also never going to be dual wielding unless I'm a swords bard. But because I'm not playing a swords bard, I'm going to be a spellcaster.
Yeah, see the Valor Bard trick is to give out the Bardic Inspirations to everybody first, and because you want to use your bonus action. The Swords Bard, you're just holding it for yourself. This Bard, again, like every Bard subclass changes your relationship with Bardic Inspiration.
Yeah, and I do think that this is one, yes, you might miss out on casting Healing Word, but obviously if you're casting Healing Word, it's a dire situation. I don't think it's as big of an issue. I do think that you will be giving out Bardic Inspiration and repositioning yourself pretty regularly. When we look at Lunar Vitality, this is a supportive looking feature, but in my opinion, it's actually very underwhelming in play. You're spending a Bardic die for a small bump to healing and a momentary speed boost.
Yeah.
And in my opinion, this would be cool if I could just do this on healing spells.
If it was just a passive boost to your healing, like a Life Domain Cleric.
Yeah.
But it's not passive. You have to spend your Bardic Inspiration die. And yes, it's nice, but these Bardic Inspiration die are really valuable.
And I'd rather use it to teleport and turn invisible than give an extra 3 healing and a bit of speed. Yes, it could get somebody out of a really bad situation, but I actually think the use of this,
no,
I would rather not waste my Bardic Inspiration on it.
I am sure someone in the comments is going to say, oh, but that 3 points of healing can be the difference between life and death. Yes, once in a while it can be, but on the aggregate, no.
Yeah.
And that's the value problem. Bardic Inspiration die are precious. And it's just inefficient to use them in this way. The opportunity cost is high. Every die that you spend to heal someone is a die that you could have used to fuel the mobility loop or empower allies' key rolls.
Yeah.
Or a saving throw.
Yeah. So I think Bardic Inspiration, all the other uses of it are actually stronger than using it for that feature. Primal Lore, however, is a bit of a quiet winner here. I think that this ability is very subtle, but very great. You're snagging a druid cantrip. Let's be real here. This ability is basically saying you're a bard and you get guidance.
Yeah, you didn't have to take another feat to get guidance, which is a spell that every bard loves to have.
3rd level, you have a new cantrip, it's guidance. Constant, high-frequency value across the social and exploration pillars. And it's not really going to be any flashy ability, but you're going to be using it every single session, and it makes you feel really helpful, even when you're not in combat.
No, straight up, a bard with guidance being your one-stop shop to Bardic Inspiration someone and guidance them, this just basically trivializes. This is a way of trivializing skill challenges.
Yeah.
On the other hand, Blessing of Moonlight is the big flashy 6th level feature, and it's got problems, okay? Here's the big thing. Moonbeam is an amazing spell, but you can only do this upgraded Moonbeam once per long rest. So here we have a subclass feature that you only get to have once per long rest. But it gets worse. It only works when you're casting and concentrating on Moonbeam, and to get the real mileage of it. The big thing with this is to do the Moonbeam Hoover vacuum thing where you sweep a Moonbeam across a bunch of enemies and get this massive pile of D4s of healing to give out. Sounds amazing, right? If you had have cast Hypnotic Pattern, which is a 1 level higher spell that you already have access to by the time you get the subclass feature, you could have hypnotized all those enemies, shut down their turns entirely, and I'll bet you would have saved more damage coming in to your party than this Moonbeam trick would have healed back. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Sure, you didn't do the damage, but like Hypnotic Pattern just shut down the battle.
I'll admit I'm a sucker for flashy moves. I actually really like this ability. I'm sad that I only get to do it once per long rest. I do think in those clutch moments where like you're in the middle of a battle and your party's wounded, there's a group of enemies facing you and you just mow them down and heal everybody back up to full is kind of like a reset button on the combat encounter. How many times are you going to get to do that? Probably not a lot. And I do think Moonbeam in general, like you're just getting Moonbeam, great spell. But the healing can look impressive on paper if you are plowing through a bunch of minions. But Hypnotic Pattern can just turn off an entire encounter.
Yeah.
I do admit that preventing 3 or 4 attacks around is actually a bigger swing than patching up damage after it lands. I like Moonbeam. I think that if we actually look at these two abilities and say, this bard gets Guidance and Moonbeam, that's cool. It can do a few extra things. How often do I get to do this extra thing, and is it worth it? Is a good question to ask.
Yeah, because like it just might be that like your other bard spells, that you want to concentrate on are competing against your class feature. So it's anti-synergistic. Then at level 14, Eventide Splendor is really giving us this huge upgrade for the mobility of the teleportation. And it's now removing the bardic inspiration cost for the extra healing. We just get an extra d6 of healing. I honestly just like, come on, like I just can't get over like the life domain cleric in comparison.
I mean, that is one that is focused on life, where we are focusing on moon here. But I do agree, like, I actually think we should have gotten an extra d6 on healing spells just as a 3rd level feature.
Yeah.
It wouldn't have been broken.
No, like that's just too expensive of a cost, right? The big thing here is, do you like the teleport, invisibility, movement shenanigans or not? That's what you're getting with the subclass.
Here's what I do like about this subclass. You're a bard, so you are generally going to be a utility and support character. Yeah. This subclass does amplify your utility and support. Teleporting and invisibility is a great way to save yourself or to reposition in the middle of a battle, and at higher levels, reposition an ally along with you. You can send yourself out of danger and the barbarian into danger, and that might be a really cool way to do that. The features that this is presenting do have high impact, high frequency, decent value, and pretty decent synergy. I do think that this is not a bad subclass. It might not be a great subclass.
You know what would have made it great?
What?
If at level 3, when the ally spent the bardic inspiration, that was when they got to teleport and turn invisible. See, I would have rather that you teleporting was the higher level thing, because I think for a support-based bard, it's more valuable to be teleporting your allies around and turning them invisible than yourself.
I agree.
Right? But it's you're the one that's doing the teleporting. So for most of your career, it actually is, it's improving your mobility and your survivability, and you're kind of like, it helps you like basically be the bard that's hiding in the background. Well, your allies are doing other things, right? But it would have been way cooler if it had been the other way around from the start. Yeah, so I think for me, it really comes down to how you manage the economy of this and how well you can utilize this feature, which to me is like, this is a high skill floor subclass. And do you have allies that can take advantage of it? Do you have the situations for this? And I think that for me, that puts it in the B tier.
I think it is a B tier. When we talk about B tier again, like this, the right player is going to have a great time with this. I do think that the teleport loop is something that I really enjoy. I do think the flashiness of Moonbeam is something I really enjoy. And I think having guidance is something I really enjoy.
Yes.
I would have a fun time playing this bard. And I would say that a lot of people out there probably will also have a fun time. It's not going to have the biggest combat impact, but guidance plus your bardic inspiration, you are going to break skill checks. Mm-hmm. Moonbeam, just having it, fun. Hypnotic Pattern might be better, but Moonbeam is a really cool spell. And yeah, I just love teleporting.
Yeah, I love teleporting too. And like, it is important to remember that bards have access to teleportation and invisibility in their spell list. But getting to go invisible and teleport all at once, all for the cost of a bardic inspiration die, and you're still getting the inspiration effect off of it, that is incredible value.
Yes.
Like, that is...
You're doing what you already do,
Yeah.
and you get to teleport and turn invisible by just being a bard.
Yeah, it's just that it's like, how are you going to get the most out of that? Because I could just see whole combat encounters where, yeah, you're doing that whole thing of like bouncing around.
But did it matter?
Exactly.
So I think beats here.
Yeah.
It's a good subclass.
Yeah. If it was the other way around and the ally remained invisible for their turn, I would have been like, whoa.
Yeah, when I first read the 14th level ability and thought that I could teleport my fighter into combat and they stayed invisible for their turn, I was ready to give this an A. When I realized that wasn't the case, it dropped to a B.
I think it's a great option for a support bard, though. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with it. Next, though, is the Knowledge Domain Cleric. I think another very support-oriented subclass. It's devoted to divine understanding, divination magic, and the power of the mind.
So at level 3, we get Blessings of Knowledge. This is going to grant you proficiency in one type of artisan's tools and 2 skills from either Arcana, History, Nature, or Religion. You also gain expertise in those 2 skills. Also at level 3, you gain access to the Knowledge Domain spells list. These spells are always prepared and scale as you level. As you level, you're going to get more. So at level 3, you add Command, Comprehend Language, Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Identify, and Mind Spike. At level 5, you're going to get Dispel Magic, Non-Detection, and Tongues. At level 7, you add Arcane Eye, Banishment, and Confusion. At level 9, you're adding Legend Lore, Scrying, and Synaptic Static. You might notice that you actually get three spells per level here. That's
you didn't read that wrong. Yeah.
Several of these spells are divination spells, reflecting this domain's focus on knowledge and insight as its core theme.
You also unlock Mind Magic. This is your channel divinity power. So as a magic action, you expend 1 use of your channel divinity to cast one of the divination spells that is from the divination spells list. So it's important. It's not any divination spell on the cleric spell list. It's just the ones that you got from that feature. So specifically, that's going to be Comprehend Languages, Detect Magic, Detect Thoughts, Identify, Mind Spike. It could be Tongues as well, Arcane Eye, a Legend Lore, or Scrying that you get to cast for free, no spell slot expenditure, and no material component expenditure either. Unfortunately, you can't actually use this on the actual divination spell, right? Or commune, or augury, because those aren't on the knowledge domain spell list. So there's a bunch of cleric divination spells. Fortunately, a lot of those are rituals anyways.
Still, a free divination spell a day is pretty cool. So at level 6, we get Unfettered Mind, which is going to grant us telepathy out to 60 feet, allowing simultaneous communication with a number of creatures equal to our wisdom modifier, which is, of course, our main stat, so that is good. You also gain proficiency in intelligence saving throws. If you already have proficiency in the saving throw, you can choose another saving throw. But yeah, we get an extra saving throw. And personally, I like telepathic communication.
And then clerics have to wait forever.
Level 6,
and then
all the way up to level 17.
And then all the way to level 17. And it's worth waiting for. Divine Foreknowledge is activated as a bonus action, and it lasts for 1 hour. During that time, you have advantage on all the 20 tests. So that would mean you have advantage on attack rolls, saving throws, and all your skill and ability checks. It lasts for 1 hour. And if you do burn through the hour, you can use this again by expending a level 6 spell slot as a no-action refresh.
Or it comes back on a long rest. Let's talk about the Knowledge Domain Cleric, what our thoughts are, all of that. This subclass for me is a very, very much in the position of subtle power. You're not going to be blasting, you're not going to, I mean, you are still a cleric, so you could be blasting and all of that. But when we look at the core concept of this subclass, it's not telling you to be a blaster or like doing anything crazy. You're really focused on intel. You're shaping the narrative through information. Mind magic lets you fire off Detect Thoughts or Arcane Eye for free. Very useful spells. It can completely change a session, but nothing here is really going to swing a combat encounter.
Yeah. If you believe that knowledge is power, and I do, this subclass is really going to speak to you. When your party needs intel or puzzle solving, you're going to make a huge difference. And that information that you gather might swing fights, but there is nothing here that is actually going to increase your punching power directly. The subclass is all about setup and foresight and communication to a certain extent. You win not by knowing what's coming. You're not really bringing anything to the cleric kit that is going to let you hit harder or make your spells more powerful, right? It's very passive in that regard.
And speaking of passive, that does actually mean that the frequency is actually really good here. When we look at Blessings of Knowledge and Unfettered Mind, you're getting bonuses and like telepathy that's always on. The improvement to your intelligence skills that you get expertise in might not come up every session. And also, I will point out that intelligence is not your main shtick as a cleric. So really, these aren't being like, oh, cool, you have expertise and knowledge. It's actually just raising something you're bad at to something you're now tolerably okay at because you're a knowledge domain cleric.
Yes, because int is still not a stat that you value highly as a clerik. So even though you get expertise in 2 knowledge skills, your int modifier might be -1. It might be 0. You could build a higher int mod if you wanted to.
If I'm a knowledge cleric, I might make it like my 3rd stat, but even then my expertise might make it a +3 or 4.
So it's not like you're going to get stratosphere level skill bonuses, like a rogue who can stack expertise with like a high dexterity and get like the +14 bonuses. That might not be the case here for you.
When we look at the value, I think the clear winner is unfortunately the highest level feature, which I guess it should be, but also we have to wait until highest level. It's effectively half of a foresight spell, which is a 9th level spell. You can even recharge it by spending a 6th level slot or more. So that's a long-lasting, high-efficiency defensive boost for you as a cleric. I say defensive because you're probably using it for saving throws more than anything.
Clerics do not make a lot of actual attack rolls.
Yeah, it's a shame, though, that we're waiting until 17th level for what I would say is the most exciting part of this subclass. But everything here is good.
Yeah, it's still strong. I mean, if you could give it to an ally, it would be amazing. I also want to point out that, like, Arcane Eye, Synaptic Static, and Legend Lore are the main offerings that this spell list is bringing us that we don't already get as clerics.
Yeah.
Okay? And those are all powerful spells. We have a famous story that we tell about a time that I used Arcane Eye to scout an entire dungeon and just, like, undid the dungeon in Kelly's game.
My dungeon was a cave. There are no doors. There was just a bunch of goblins in a cave, and he arcane-eyed the entire dungeon, mapped it out, found out where all the enemies are, gave them a lot of tactical advantage. But it was really cool.
Yeah, but in theory, any cleric can prepare a bunch of divination spells and act in much the same way as a knowledge domain cleric, while also then having the combat power that some of the other cleric subclasses bring to the table. And so this subclass is going to really shine in cases where information gathering is important, but also a lot of that information gathering, a lot of that divination, that happens in downtime. Like, you're getting these features, you're getting the mind magic thing is kind of compensating for the fact that you often need to be using your divination spells in a moment where you don't have like days to prepare. But anytime where you do, and that's the best time to be doing all your divination, the fact that you're getting the spell slot for free as an action doesn't really matter. Like,
that's for the emergency divination.
Yeah, and like emergency divination, the problem with emergency divination is that are you getting the information with enough time to act on that information, right? Because for me, the value of divination is going, all right, I now know that in this dungeon, I'm facing red dragons that have resistance to fire damage. So now on my next long rest, I'm going to change my spell list.
Right.
Right. Or that I now scouted the dungeon and have all this information so I know what we need to prepare for, but we're going to spend our time in preparation in between those two things. And for me, that's when divination is very powerful. I'm also going to acknowledge, like, straight up, there are DMs out there that just hate divination as much as they hate illusion magic and are going to surround their dungeons with tons of anti-divination, like no magic zones, Mordenkainen's defenses.
It can happen.
It can happen, and you can just be thwarted on that regard, right? So yes, knowledge is power, but there's a lot of ways to shut down this subclass, and then there's a lot of ways that other cleric subclasses can just kind of play in the same pool.
I think that this subclass offers a lot of really useful features that, when they do come up, are going to be really cool. And for the right player who is into the divination sort of playstyle, this is a good subclass. There's nothing that is taking away from the core cleric here. It kind of, all of the abilities exist sort of beside the cleric.
You can still have spirit guardians and healing word, all that good stuff. It's just that yours is fine, whereas the life domain cleric or the light domain clerics is like doing way better stuff than you in combat.
I think that for me, while every ability this cleric gains is good, or even great in some instances, a lot of it is firstly going to be dependent on the table, the campaign, the DM, the player. And secondly, this is a bias. I personally just don't find any of these exciting. Again, I'm a bit of a sucker for flashy moves. And this one's very subtle. That's not a negative. I'm just stating.
I'm just going to come back to it. It's like, aside from Arcane Eye, which is a great spell.
Yes.
I just don't think that the other spells on this list are good enough in a vacuum for mind magic, right? And if you've got one other character in your party, like if you have a wizard in your party, they're just going to eat your lunch. Like, I just think that if you have a wizard in your party, this subclass really loses its value, because any wizard can bring a lot of divination magic too. And I just think that you're trading off all the in combat and on the day oomph for a bunch of preparation that you could still get even if you weren't playing this class.
I mean, okay, I still think that I have to give this one a B.
I don't think anything's bad. Like,
that's the main reason. Is like, I can't say anything bad about any of these abilities. How useful depends on your campaign, depends on the player. And I think those are two big reasons why it's a B. There are players who will utilize this subclass really, really well.
Yeah.
And they're going to have a great time.
I just think that for myself, me personally, if you could split reality and have me sitting at a table where I was behind a life domain cleric in one reality and behind the knowledge domain cleric in the other reality, I struggle to think of what the life cleric couldn't do while also
being the best healer.
Being the best healer in the game.
Yeah. Now, on the contrary, this one is going to be a better diviner than the life domain cleric and but can still be a healer.
Yeah.
So this does have a use case.
It does. But again, if there's a wizard in your party, your lunch is going to get eaten.
Yeah, if there's a diviner wizard, oops.
Yeah. Like, it is interesting because in a weird way, this class might be a better diviner than the actual diviner wizard. But the diviner wizard is not there to cast divination spells.
They're there to control the dice.
Is to control the dice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Next up, we come to the Banneret Fighter. This is an improved reimagining of the Purple Dragon Knight, one of the least favorite subclasses in the previous edition. This emphasizes leadership and coordination on the battlefield. Let's see.
Yep. All right, Purple Dragon Knight, you're back up to plate. Let's see if you got the makeover of the decade. Okay, level 3, Knightly Envoy, proficiency in 1 social skill, insight, persuasion, performance, intimidation, and you can cast Comprehend Languages as a ritual. You also learn a language and can replace it after a long rest, which is weird because it's like, today I know Elven, yesterday I knew Dwarven. I don't know how I forgot an entire language and learned a new one overnight, but we're going with it.
That part is hilarious to me. Like, I like that feature. It's semi-useful, but I mean, it's hilarious that you're like, nope, forgot that. Only have room for 1 extra language in my brain.
Yeah.
Also at level 3, we have Group Recovery, which enhances Second Wind. So now when you use the Second Wind feature, you can choose a number of allies within a 30-foot emanation. The number can be equal to your charisma modifier. Each chosen ally regains 1d4 plus your fighter level in hit points, so it's going to scale as you level up. You can use this feature once per short or long rest.
Okay, at level 7, When you use that feature that you can use once per short or long rest, Team Tactics is going to give you an additional benefit. Every ally that was affected by group recovery is also going to gain advantage on all D20 tests until the start of your next turn. So again, D20 tests is attack rolls, saving throws, and ability checks. So they've got advantage on all their attacks. They make all their saving throws with advantage. It's offensive and it's defensive in its nature.
At level 10, Rallying Surge modifies Action Surge. So now when you use Action Surge, allies within that 30-foot emanation, again up to your Charisma modifier number, can immediately take a reaction to either make one attack or move up to half their speed without provoking opportunity attacks. So this is either the get in and fight or get out and survive.
Now at level 15, Shared Resilience lets you basically give your Indomitable to an ally as a reaction within 60 feet. So if they fail a saving throw, you spend your reaction, they get to reroll the saving throw and add your fighter level to it. So your whole party has access to your Indomitable.
And at level 18, Inspiring Commander doubles the range of your group recovery and Rallying Surge, so now they are 60 feet. And it grants you immunity to the Charmed and Frightened condition. So let's talk about the Banneret, the new and improved Purple Dragon Knight. This subclass tries its best to fix the Purple Dragon Knight from 2014, and I will admit, it is an improvement. It's better than the Purple Dragon Knight. The bar was on the floor. It's still a modest improvement. You're trying to play this battlefield leader. You're inspiring allies, you're healing the wounded, you're calling the charge. And yes, this subclass does all of those things. The results, however, I don't think when we talk about impact, I don't think the impact or the value is as high as we need it to be.
Neither is the frequency or the synergy. Because this is the big issue. A lot of fighter subclasses grant the fighter a brand new resource. Superiority dice, spell slots, psychic energy dice, or they're just entirely passive bonuses like in the case of the champion. But in this case, every single subclass feature is triggered when you use Action Surge, Second Wind, Indomitable. So it's pulling from your existing pool, which means that you only get to see your subclass when you're using your iconic fighter abilities, which on paper sounds fine.
Because you will be using those abilities.
You will be using those abilities. It's just that all of those fighter abilities, Action Surge, Second Wind, Indomitable, they're all about you. But this subclass is saying now when you use those, you still get those effects, but now you get this other thing that's going to help, that's going to inspire your allies at the same time. And this is where it comes into this kind of traffic jam of, well, are the conditions the right conditions? And are we using them in tandem? And are they going to be synergistic on the actual field of battle? Because sometimes you don't want your benefit at the same time you want to benefit your allies.
I do agree. So a lot of the features that we want to use as a fighter, and I've played a fighter, I've seen 2 fighters played up to 20th level next to me, and most of the time, like, let's say Indomitable or Second Wind. Those are used in clutch situations where that fighter needs to save themselves.
Yeah.
Does your party need saving as well? Did you just use your last Indomitable on yourself and now a party member needs a saving throw? Did you use your Indomitable on a saving throw and now you go down? Do you need healing? Do your allies need healing? There's a lot of questions that actually come up in this. Group recovery sounds like a heroic rally, healing your whole team while you patch yourself up. But it's still actually only usable once per short rest.
It's not every time you second win.
I think it should have been every time you second win. You don't get to do it every time you second win, just once. And that actually also applies in for me, there's the whole like action surge thing where you are action surging, and I love the idea. This is actually my favorite ability it has. You action surge and you all get to run in and Nova the boss.
Yep.
But is your party other marshals?
Or are they casters?
If they're casters, then their only option is to run away.
Yeah.
And it's still useful, but now it's a get out of there casters, which can still be useful. But I love the Nova image.
And the heal is also dependent on how high your charisma modifier is. You're not necessarily healing your entire party or getting your entire party to attack because what is your charisma modifier? Is it +5? Yeah. Is it +3? That's probably the point where maybe most parties will be covered, but that's a high charisma investment. So now we have to build into this too to get our features working. And for a lot of fighters, charisma is the dump stat. And so yes, you can build your fighter with charisma, but you are going to have to build this way in order to get the most out of this feature too. But even then, you're going to get this you're going to get that big thing once per short rest. And then that's it.
And did you use it at the right time? Was it useful? So we do end up with this like traffic jam of like, when we talk about synergy, technically on paper, you could argue that the synergy is great because we're looking for abilities that add and relate to our core features and core play loop in an interesting way. But what we don't like in synergy is, usually when we're talking about synergy, what we want is something that says, you already do the thing that you were going to do as this class, and we're adding to it.
Which it is doing. But did you want to add that then?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
or now you have to be more tactful on like, is it the right time to second win?
I want to talk about the anti-synergy of team tactics.
Okay.
So team tactics giving advantage to a bunch of allies is a really powerful rallying cry to use at the start of combat when no one has taken any damage.
Yeah.
Right?
So the
like
healing
that's
is
the
now...
best time to use it.
You've
right?
got it, but like this is demanding that you use it in the middle of combat when everybody's wounded and you're like, let's go, which is cool.
Yes.
But not optimal.
Yeah, so you either are not necessarily using team tactics under the most ideal conditions, and maybe not even on the most ideal player. Like, for example, what if the party member that needs the healing is not really going to be in the position to take advantage of the advantage on attack rolls and saving throws, right? On the next turn. So you get this weird kind of, it's very reactive in that respect. And so it means that whether or not your subclass is useful is going to be dependent on the situation on the battlefield. And I am a player that I like to have a proactive battlefield thought. I like to be in control of the battle, defining how things are going, which is why I favor buffs and offense. This is reactive, healing, defense.
Now, I am a reactive player, more so, but even I will admit that like I prefer abilities that just tell me to do what I wanted to do and I'm going to do it better. A lot of this actually feels stressful to me when I'm like, okay, I'm weak right now, but if I use Second Wind, everybody else has way more hit points. Yeah. Is now the time to use this feature? Probably not. I'll just use Second Wind. How many Second Winds do I have left? How many Indomitals do I have left? Is this the right time to action surge and get everybody to do their thing? Like, it actually kind of conflates the use of all of my main abilities and makes me question at the table, is this the right moment?
And I just want to point out that like there are Battle Master maneuvers that basically emulate all of these things. There's Battle Master maneuvers to give your allies attacks. There's Battle Master maneuvers to buff your allies. There's Battle Master maneuvers to bring them back into the fight. And all of those are things that can be kind of done semi-independently of whatever your game plan is on that turn.
Yeah.
And even though those might only affect one ally at a time, that's mathematically the same as you having a +1 charisma modifier, right? So, and then the Battle Master's getting all the other Battle Master stuff.
I mean, it's not going to compete with the Battle Master.
No, it just doesn't. But I'm just saying that the Battle Master does a better job of being a banneret than the banneret does.
Yeah, and maybe so does the Commander Fighter from Sebastian Crow's Guide to Drakkenheim. Sorry.
I just think that this is... it's an improvement over the previous one.
Yeah, okay, so major points. You did it. You made the Purple Dragon Knight better. Which is why I'm giving this a C.
It's worth noting that the old version of the Purple Dragon Knight wasn't dependent on charisma like this. So it's arguably worse in some ways.
I do think I'm giving this a C because, and here's why. There is a player out there who can switch their mindset to play a fighter who is no longer using these features for themselves and is only focused on helping their allies. I think that you're a worse fighter by doing so, but if that sounds fun for you being the commander,
I just come back to, if you have that team-based mindset, you should be able to do all of this with a Battle Master, and you're going to feel way better about it.
Well, that's why the Battle Master's an S. Do you think it's lower than a C?
It's like, I want to give credit to Wizards for trying to save this, but it is borderline D to me, right?
Yeah, that's
like
fair.
Maybe it doesn't fall out of it falls into the C tier because it's not taking anything away, but it does fall into, like, a lot of the time you're just going to feel like you don't have a subclass.
Yeah, and I feel like I just would be, I'm not going to have a great time playing this subclass because I feel stressed about knowing if I want to use my features for me or for my allies. But that's me.
I do think that the team tactics and the rallying surge are usable.
Yeah.
And that's what I think does save this whole thing. And like, yes, there are ways to use these correctly, but what we're pointing out is all the difficulties of those situations.
Yeah.
It's not impossible for this subclass to do its thing.
No, it can do its thing. It's just, I think that a lot of these abilities should have been a separate entity from being tied to your abilities, and that would have made it free and clean.
Yep.
So as much as it's weird because you're going to see coming up that we actually love it when things say, use this feature of your normal class, but it's better. But I do think there's a difference between you're doing a thing and now you're doing it more versus you're doing a thing and it's doing something else.
I would have loved to have the ability to independently heal an ally, heal an ally even if I didn't need healing.
Yeah.
Right? Heal myself when I need healing. I would have loved the ability to buff the ally that didn't, and not have to have that attached to the healing. And I would have loved the ability to grant an ally an attack without necessarily needing to use my action surge then. That would have given me more, and same for the Indomitable thing. Like, I would have liked just to have an extra pool, right? Because all of these things, it's like, that's the challenge, right? And so, yeah, I think C. So finally for us today, the Oath of the Noble Genies Paladin. This is going to give your Paladin the elemental powers of earth, air, fire, and water. And kicking things off like all Paladins do, we get the Genie spells list, which are always prepared for you as part of the Oath.
So at level 3, you're going to get Chromatic Orb, Elementalism, and Thunderous Smite. At level 5, you're getting Mirror Image and Phantasmal Force. At level 9, you're going to get Fly and Gaseous Form. And at level 13, you're adding Conjure Minor Elementals.
Oh, baby.
And Summon Elemental. And then finally at level 17, you are adding Banishing Smite and Contact Other Plane.
That's a banger spell list.
That, I mean, especially, let's just be real, at level 13, once you get Conjure Minor Elementals and you're a Paladin, yeah, that's good.
Okay, so we got another really cool thing at level 3. Elemental Smite is going to modify Divine Smite. So basically, to use this, you are both casting Divine Smite and using a Channel Divinity at the same time. Sounds resource intensive, it is. Is it worth it? Well, when you do this, for your cost of a Divine Smite spell slot and a Channel Divinity, you get to choose one of 4 different effects when you strike. And of course, this is going to be on a successful Divine Smite, so you already hit at this point, right? So the first one, Dow's Crush, causes stone to rise up and bind the target. The target's automatically grappled. There's no saving throw. And while grappled in this way, it also is restrained. And then it has to spend an action to escape, and that escape equals your save DC. So you're getting battlefield control, a kind of like restrain, stun, grapple condition. There's also no size restriction.
No size restriction.
Yeah.
You can grapple a dragon.
Yep.
Jin's Escape teleports you up to 30 feet to an unoccupied space you can see and makes you semi-incorporeal until the end of your next turn. During this time, you have resistance to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage, and immunity to the grappled, prone, and restrained conditions. That's great. So you have your grab a dragon and hold it in place, or you have your get the heck out of there and become impervious, not impervious, you know.
Yep. Ifrit's Fury causes your smite to take, just do an extra 2d4 fire damage, and then there's flames leap to another target of your choice within 30 feet, doing 2d4 damage to them. So this is like extra damage on the top of your already, this is damage that is stacking on top of the Divine Smite damage.
I won't lie though, compared to the other two we just read, a little bit of womp womp, but it's Extra damage, never a bad thing. Merit's Surge unleashes a wave of water and force, so each creature of your choice within a 10-foot emanation centered on you must make a strength saving throw against your spell save DC. If they fail, they are pushed 15 feet and knocked prone. So this one is the "oh no, I'm surrounded" button. If you need to knock everybody away from you.
Only one with a saving throw.
It is the only one with a saving throw. You know when I would use this? If I'm surrounded and near a cliff face or something of that sort. Hey, I can kill a lot of guys. Cool.
Front-loaded subclass, baby. Gotta love paladins. Genie's Splendor. This actually gives you unarmored defense. So you have an unarmored defense equal to 10 plus your dex plus your charisma modifier. And you get proficiency in acrobatics, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. Apparently, the printed version is incorrect and notes the wrong ability scores for this. But the D&D Beyond version is correct. So heads up if you're looking at the print book.
You also can still use a shield. If that
but no armor
matters to you, but you cannot wear armor. At level 7, Aura of Elemental Shielding grants you and allies within your Aura of Protection resistance to one of these following damage types: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or thunder. Here's my favorite part. You can change the type at the start of your turn.
No action required.
No. You just, fire guy, let's fight him. Okay, fire resistant. Oh, now we're fighting Iceman. Anyway, might not happen all that much if you're fighting,
good. No,
but still,
it's so
if you need to, you can switch it really easily.
Again, paladins then have this giant gap as well, kind of like clerics, so we don't get anything till level 15. Elemental Rebuke is a reaction. When you're hit by an attack, you get to have the damage, and then you force the target to basically make a save against 2d10 damage. We're here for the halving damage. You can use this a number of times equal to your charisma modifier, regain all uses after a long rest.
Yeah, and the damage can be one of the elemental types.
Important to note that you do have to be hit by an attack. You can't just apply this to any damage source.
At level 20, Noble Scion activates as a bonus action and lasts 10 minutes. You gain a fly speed of 60 feet and can hover, and when you or your allies within your Aura of Protection fails a d20 test, you can use a reaction to make that roll a success instead. You can use this feature once per long rest, or restore it by expending a 5th level spell slot. So, all right, let's talk about this. Paladins got it sweet. They always have. This is a good subclass.
Yeah.
This subclass is immediately exciting. You're channeling the elemental majesty of genies. You can teleport, you can blast, you can trap a dragon, you can add fire. Every feature feels great.
I feel like this subclass speaks to you because it's just flashy. It's flashy and ostentatious in everything.
I mean, I like what I like.
Yeah.
Elemental Smite is going to let you tailor your Divine Smite, which is something that you're already doing. You're already going to be Divine Smiting.
Yes. And so paladins like to smite.
And you get to choose which one is the most useful in that moment.
Yeah.
It does cost your channel divinity, so there is a high cost, but I think the value is really good.
But
here.
Generally speaking, your paladin subclass is giving you the thing that you use channel divinity for. Vengeance paladins would be doing the exact same loop. A vengeance paladin is going to be attacking somebody using channel divinity and smiting in the same turn. You're going to be attacking somebody using divine smite and using channel divinity in the same turn.
Yeah.
So it does. It's costly because we're using a spell slot, we're using a channel divinity. But here's the thing, and this is the difference between this and the Banneret. This is worth it.
Yeah.
Right? It's like I'm okay to pay a cost because I was going to pay that cost already, probably, and I'm getting a lot for it. The restrain automatic with no size restriction. Now I'm set up for me and my allies to have advantage on this enemy, and they have disadvantage on attack rolls until they break out, and they have to spend an action basically stunning them until they get out.
And because there's no saving throw, this means it bypasses legendary resistance.
Exactly. So this is a massive middle finger to dragons.
Yeah. Yeah. When we talk about frequency, it's excellent here because these powers ride on either Divine Smite, which again, yes, there is a limitation to using your channel divinity and all of that, but all paladins have that limitation, and we're doing this anyway. So you're going to be using this as much as features on any paladin class.
Yeah, it suffers from the same paladin problem that paladins love to nova and spend all their resources all at once.
And you can do that here.
Every paladin has that problem. It's just part of the class.
But a lot of the abilities are also tied to your aura, which is pretty cool. And, this subclass specifically actually avoids the whole once per day trap that we've seen a few times here. The aura of elemental shielding refreshes automatically each turn, and elemental rebuke comes with multiple uses per long rest, and it scales with your charisma. And unlike other classes that we've mentioned, charisma is something that your paladin might have a decent score.
Yeah, you're going to care about that. The aura thing is so cool because fire, cold, lightning, thunder, acid, relatively common damage types. Notably, the omissions here, poison and necrotic.
Yes.
But the fact that you can tailor it to what's happening, yes, it might not be relevant in every combat, but then it's this thing where it's like, when it is relevant, you just turn it on. It requires no work from you to maintain it. It's just there, which is exactly what we want with this kind of feature, right?
I think we should mention the no armor thing.
Okay. So this, let's just point out here, this may or may not be better than just wearing plate armor.
It's actually hard to say because plate gives you an 18. So what does your dex and charisma actually need to be? You probably need
They need both 18 or one at 20 and one at 16.
Yeah. And let's say that we are building a dex-based paladin that is dual wielding. Then we could wear medium armor as well. And then we need to make sure that both of our stats are above 16 in order to bypass the efficiency of just wearing good medium armor. So the questions is, this ability is cool because you get to imagine yourself as a no armor dual wielding paladin. Dual wielding is cool because you get conjure minor elementals.
Yeah, and the ideal state when you have dex 20 and charisma 20, then you got AC 20 that you add a shield to, now you're 22. If it's a magic shield, it's 25, right? Whereas if you were in plate armor, if you had +3 plate and a +3 shield, you would be at AC, you'd be 1 AC ahead with plate.
Yeah. So whether or not the no armor feature is going to be useful for you is really dependent on a lot of factors. So I actually think it's a little bit of a wash. It could come out ahead in the long run, but near the beginning, it's actually hard to justify whether or not you want to wear armor or not. Kind of depends on the fantasy you want to go for.
I do think you want to play a dual wielder with this paladin, though, because
conjure minor elementals.
Yeah,
come on.
Get a lot out of to get a lot out of conjure minor elementals, and I think that makes the whole class economy really, really clean. Right? You're doing everything that a paladin wants to do. A paladin wants their channel divinity power to help them smite their enemies, and you're getting exactly that, right? And whether you just want more damage, which I think the more damage one is the least exciting one.
I mean, 4d4 damage is not as cool as grappling
it's not
a
irrelevant,
dragon.
But it doesn't scale.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
I wish it did.
I wish it did. It really feels like it falls off, whereas the teleport plus gain damage resistance is always going to be relevant.
And same with grappling any size creature with no saving throw.
Yes.
Those two. And then the last one does require a saving throw, which does, unfortunately. For me, the first two are S tier smites. The last two are like B tier, but they could find their uses.
And then in the spell list, we've got Mirror Image, which is great. We've got Gaseous Form and Fly. Conjure Minor Elementals it got nerfed, but it's still
great.
It's still amazing. And I just think that this whole subclass, like, it just harmonizes with everything that the Paladin wants to do. This one is giving the Vengeance Paladin a run for its money. I think the Vengeance Paladin is still stronger.
So this is the thing.
Maybe this is better at higher levels.
I'm wondering if this is S tier. It might be. It might be. I might be giving this an S. I think that this is the new standout paladin. I think it's great.
I don't think you're wrong to give it an S tier.
Yeah.
And I think that it is pretty amazing. It's absolutely A plus, and I think I am confident. Like, I'm fine to round it up to an A to an S, to be in agreement, because I'm actually really excited about it, and it just is really cool. It's bold, it's cinematic, it's offering some cool new things for the paladin, and like the channel divinities come back on a short rest.
Yeah.
Right. So you will be limited, though, by your spell slots here, which is kind of the biggest thing. But
That's the biggest thing holding it back, but that's the same thing holding every paladin back.
yeah,
So I'm willing to give it an S. I could be talked into an A. I'd love to hear from everybody out there what they think, but I think this is the winner of the first four.
unequivocally. Yeah.
So, okay, there's our first four. I'm excited about this. I don't need everything to be perfect. B or higher is good in my books.
Yeah.
So out of this, we kind of got one flub and two decent and one excellent.
And I think we see for us, like, the differences of what it means for a class to be high in synergy and impact, the value
and the frequency.
Frequency is such a big thing here, and this is what we really see when you're like, I don't think we see it as much when we're comparing within the same class as we do within separate classes, which is cool when we do these kind of like book review style tier rankings.
I also think we've done enough of these subclass tier rankings, I will admit, and I'm not calling anybody out here, but we always get the comments of like, we ranked something low and we said their abilities aren't useful, and they're like, what about this one time? What you're talking about when you say what about this one time is the feature can have amazing impact, it can have amazing synergy, it can have amazing value. But if the frequency is super low, it's not a great feature. If it happens once or twice in your campaign, not good enough.
Yeah, and that's why I think all four of those factors have to be considered when we evaluate subclasses, because oftentimes it's very easy to look at the impact the feature has and not think about its frequency and its cost. Yeah. That often...
the value is the other big factor for me, is like, if something is really impactful and you can do it all the time, but it's costing a resource that could be used better elsewhere.
Yes.
Then it's a hard feature to use.
So overall, taking a look at things, I think let's show the player's handbook rankings with these new ones. So adding things onto where we've got things before, here's where the other subclasses for the Bard fall in, and we're going to slot in the College of the Moon in the B tier.
For the Knowledge Domain Cleric, again, there are ones that are better, there are ones that are worse, and it falls safely in the B tier.
For the fighter, who is super stacked as it is, I think the competition is just so hard.
Yeah.
And I think that this comes back to the biggest thing. A fighter, the best fighter subclasses are giving the fighter a new resource to play with that works alongside its existing kit, rather than pulling from its already existing resources.
Yeah.
And that's where the Banneret just comes up short when we compare to the other fighter subclasses. Superiority dice, spell slots, psychic energy dice give us new toys to play with, rather than modifying existing features. And this is why the Banneret's C for us. Borderline D, though.
And finally, we come to the Oath of Noble Genies Paladin, which, one of the best paladins that we've seen, and we rank it very, very highly. It's gonna be good, and it's gonna feel good. So
it exemplifies that contrast and synergy between when something is playing with, like, is what good synergy looks like and what bad synergy looks like, is that comparison between the Banneret and the Noble Genie. It's so, this contrast between these two subclasses in terms of what they're doing, how they're doing it, could not be more stark, because we actually see a successful implementation of one of the philosophy and an unsuccessful implementation of the philosophy.
So with all of that, as always, this is Monty and my opinions, probably a bit of bias, probably a bit of our experiences at the table.
I know people will say, it's like, but the Banneret's just doing the same thing as the Noble Genie.
No, they're not.
They're not.
And I want to hear from you. Like, do you disagree with us? Do you super agree with us? Do you think we were maybe a little bit off? Too harsh? Too light? Who knows? We love to hear your comments. make sure to let us know all of your thoughts. We're going to be doing part 2 with the other 4 subclasses coming soon, so make sure to let us know your thoughts on these 4 in the comments below.
The videos that we make on our channel are made possible thanks to the incredible generosity of our Patreon supporters. If you enjoy the work that we do here on YouTube, please consider becoming a patron of the show. You get early access to all of our videos, you get bonus content, new mechanical content from us as well, all that good stuff. Check the Patreon below.
And our Drakkenheim series is finished. If you have not watched it yet and you want to catch up or watch all of the previous episodes, you can check out the epic saga that spawned 3 books. All of the episodes, maybe a 4th one coming, all of the episodes are right up over here.
And we got plenty more tier ranking content for all the new 2024 books right up over here.
Please subscribe to our channel, like this video, and ring that bell so that you never miss an episode.
Thanks so much for watching. See you next time
in the dungeon.